Hey everybody, Jennifer from Scrapping Under the Influence. So I know I said I had some other stuff to wrap up before I was going to get to the absolutely adorable Say Cheese at the Park. And I did, one of them being this tutorial. So when I went to the Orlando retreat, I had made a whole bunch of little Doodlebugs albums for some of my friends, and Tammy had shown hers on the live, which this one is not with the Doodlebug Fun at the Park. This is with Doodlebug I Heart Travel. But this was the one I had done originally at a crop I went to back in February for a contest, and won the contest, I will have you know. But this was the little project I had done, and I was like, this is so cute, and this was so easy to put together. I'm going to make them for my friends for Orlando. So I had done them with the Disney paper and whatnot. And Tammy showed it on the live and had a number of people ask if there was a tutorial, and then she asked me if I was going to do a tutorial on it. And I said yes, I had planned on it, but I wasn't sure what paper I was going to use. I thought about using the Doodlebug My Happy Place, but I just didn't quite think it fit with the book itself. And I had made the base tonight, and I was like, I know what I'm going to use. So I have used the Say Cheese at the Park from Simple Stories to mat my little book here. So I've got some of the foam stickers that they have on the front here. The Polaroid frames are a die that I have had for, oh my gosh, how old's my son? He's 10, so I probably had him 12 years ago when I was on another design team for a stamp company, and was getting ready to cut one, like a Polaroid-ish frame by hand, and I was like, hey, I have a die for that. This is a chipboard from the Brads. I've matted it all the way around, and this of course is that cute Main Street paper. And I got really lucky because if you watched my haul video, I talked about how this paper is very much a Disneyland theme versus like just Disney parks in general, because it's got the little fire station, and Walt Disney has had an apartment built in the upstairs of the fire station at Disneyland that he could stay in when he was still alive. And the cast members always knew if he was in the park because there would be a lantern lit in the window if he was in residence. And since his passing, there's always a lantern in the window. Anyway, so when I was matting this, and I didn't even realize I had done that until I was decorating, I was like, oh look, there's my fire station, yes! So that made me happy. Anyway, and again, and you'll hear me towards the end of the tutorial talking about the closure and forgetting to put the ribbon on the ones I did for Orlando. And then what did I do 10 minutes later? I did the same thing again. So yes, my ribbon does go underneath my decoration front cover because I forgot to put it on before I matted, but it's okay. So super easy. This is 4 by 8.5. I have a Mickey icon like confetti punch that I've had for a while that I use just to cut some little pieces to go on the ends of my ribbons. So when you open it up, there's these little, they're kind of tuck spots, and they're stacked tuck spots. And I had done those originally because of a specific little cut apart that Doodlebug had with both their travel collection and with their Disney inspired. And I was kind of going, well, what am I going to do? And then I was like, oh my gosh, the tags. Now, I thought about, going ahead and punching holes and putting some twine in here, and decided not to. I decided they were fine as is, but they all have space on the back where you can journal or whatever. So I thought that was absolutely perfect. So we've got a pocket here. These are some of the little circle icons from one of the papers that I just punched out. They do punch perfectly with a 1.5 inch circle punch, so good to know. This is from the 6x8 paper pad, as are the pieces matting here with the cameras and the one that says Magic. That is also from the 6x8. Again, you've got another deep pocket here. This was one of the cut aparts that I just matted on black. 4x4 cut aparts, the back side of the 4x4 cut aparts. In here, you've got a side pocket. I use that cute ticket page to mat that pocket. I do have one of the journal cards in here. I didn't get around to cut, I forgot to cut the rest of them apparently. Again, cut aparts, the pocket again. I did actually leave these open on top on both of these, so you could tuck something in there if you had something small. And then another pocket on the back. And again, just those tags again, and it just repeats. So this is all there is to it. Literally, I'm going to have to edit out about 1.5 minutes of my son in here telling me about his Legos. But other than that, and with the exception of cutting my chipboard and my cardstock, the tutorial was filmed in real time in one shot. So it's not super hard, very easy project, goes together really quickly, and I can tell you from experience, it's one you can do multiples of without, wanting to cry halfway through. So there we go. Tutorial plays next. As always, please like, hit subscribe, and ring the bell if you want to get notified when I post new projects. If you end up making this, you can share this at Scrappers of Country Craft Creations. You can also share this, tag me on Instagram at Scrapping Under the Influence, and I have a craft group as well on Facebook called I Scrapped Under the Influence, a craft group for all crafters that desperately needs a new name. And I haven't come up with anything yet, but you can post them or anything else you make there too. It doesn't have to be my tutorial, it can be anything that you make. Paper, not paper, doesn't matter. We want to see what you make. Okay, so tutorial plays next. Thanks for watching. Okay, so for our base, you need 2 pieces of chipboard 4 by 8.5, 1 piece 3/4 of an inch by 8.5. You could use lightweight chipboard if you wanted to. I have normal weight chipboard for this. You want to cover the back of those with tape. We're going to start with our little spine piece. So to wrap this, you need a piece of cardstock 10.5 by 3 3/4. I'm going to use my 1.5 inch spacer. I'm going to go ahead and get the backing off of this. Maybe. I love when it doesn't want to come off. Okay. So we're just going to use our spacers and lay that down. For the cover pieces, you're going to use just the 1 inch spacers on both sides. And this is 10.5 by 6. Take the backing off of that and lay it down. Our second one. Okay, move that out of the way for a minute. So what we're going to do is go ahead and wrap our pieces. So I'm going to use the chipboard to fold the cardstock around. all 3 of my pieces. I'm just going to crease where it folds. So, you know, like I said, this is the little album that Tammy showed on her live that I made for her and a few other ladies at the Orlando retreat. And I made 15 of these suckers. Because of the sizing, you can actually do this on a solid piece of cardstock rather than wrapping them individually, which is what I did on theirs. But it goes faster, I'll say that much. I still prefer this method. Well, we've folded our cardstock around, so we're going to go ahead and cut out the squares in the corners. And we're going to go ahead and miter. So for the spine, we're going to go ahead and wrap our ends. And I have lost my bone folder. There it is. So glue up against the chipboard and then over and down. Okay, once you've done that, flip it pretty side up and just burnish along that chipboard to work the paper down over that spine. And I can see right there I didn't miter that quite enough. Alright, so then I'm going to cut the corners out on my other 2 pieces and miter these as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go ahead, and if you've watched my videos before, you know where this is going. I'm going to go ahead and run corner score tape around the outside edges of my covers. You can just use glue if you want. You can use just tape if you want. I prefer the combo. do is come around, pull the backing off my score tape on all 4 sides. And then I'm going to glue. So I'm going to run glue along the edge of this chipboard. Push up against the chipboard and then over and burnish it down. I've got glue everywhere for some reason. I'm not sure why, but it happens sometimes. So again, push up against the chipboard and then over and burnish it down. Time. Okay. Same thing on the other piece. Which I say that it's faster doing all 15 of those with this cover piece being solid. But honestly, on a couple of them, I thought with it enough, this probably would have been faster. I can, at this point, do this wrap method in my sleep. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to take my spine piece and I didn't cut my piece to reinforce the inside. That's okay. I'm going to go ahead and put score tape on the outside edges of my cover. And I'm going to grab my scoreboard just to help line everything up, make sure it's all even. I'm going to pull the backing off of the score tape. Do that. And then we're going to lay that down. Push it down. Other side. And I am leaving just like maybe a 1/16 of an inch gap there because I've had, I don't know, lately I haven't been happy with my covers lately, and I know it's how I'm putting them together and I'm getting them too close, but that's okay. Alright, so we do still need a piece to reinforce here. So I am going to grab out of my scraps a piece. We are going to cut this to 8 3/8. And this is, what is this, 4 1/4? We'll leave it. You could go 4 inches. This is 4 1/4. That will also be just fine. And I do need to cover this in tape. So let me grab the tape. I do prefer the rolls over the sheets, so that is what I tend to buy. I just feel like I waste less of it doing it this way. So again, it's all personal preference. And really, I am going to cut this down to 4 because that tape is 4 inches. So just so I don't have to run another little piece of tape on there, I am going to just zip that little piece off. Okay. So for this reinforcement piece, you do want tape and tape only. You want it as edge to edge as you can get it, because that way it's not going to bubble up on you when you fold it. Okay, and then burnish that down. And then work our crease. And work our crease. Pull this closed. Kind of pinch it to get everything in place. And there's our cover. Okay. So, first thing we're going to do are our little tuck spots on the sides here. Okay. For those, you need 2 pieces of cardstock that are 4 3/8 by 5 1/2. You're going to start with the 4 3/8 at the top of your scoreboard. Score it 1/2 inch, turn, and 1/2 inch. Okay, so this one, our score is on our left-hand side. For our next one, we're going to start with the 5 1/2 at the top, score 1/2 inch, turn, and 1/2 inch again, so that our score is on the right-hand side. Okay. What I did next was I put this in my trimmer, and I start at 1 inch. So here's our top, side, bottom. Okay, so I'm putting this in, my score lines over towards me, lining this up at 1 inch, and I'm going to cut until I get to that score line. Okay, I'm going to shift it down 1 inch, and so I'm looking at my 1 inch line here and lining that mark where I cut up with that 1 inch mark. I'm going back to my score line again. We'll repeat. And one more. Okay. So now you've got your little flaps. We are going to take our scissors. We're going to cut through our score line at the bottom, where the score lines intersect on the corner. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm going to miter just a little bit here and also up here. Okay. So go ahead and fold and burnish. Fold and burnish. And this one is going to go in on this side. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do glue. Not that much. That was too much glue. So we're just going to kind of spread it. We want to line up with the bottom outside corner. So this is going to run all along this outside edge. Once you get that tab down, you can kind of fold these back, come in here and burnish this. What I did decide after making all those many books is I would have liked to have matted all the way down in here. I'm not going to on this one, but if you wanted to, you would go ahead and mat, and then you're going to start putting these down. So to put these pieces down, start on your bottom, get it on your tab, and then you're going to burnish that down. Okay. On these, and you could do this with 1/8 inch score tape if you have it, or you can do it with glue, but I really need like the fine tip on this. Hold on one second. Hopefully this one's a clean one. I'll grab a glue pen. Okay. All right, so even though I really hate this thing, we're going to use it. So you want a thin line of glue on the very bottom of that little flap, and you're going to push it over and down. And this is where you're going to want to burnish, just to make sure. And you're just going to repeat that. Because keep in mind, these are essentially tuck spots. They're not really pockets per se, but the bottom does need to be adhered down. Okay. So just take your time, because these do kind of want to slide out of alignment. And that's mostly just because, you know, they're fairly loose at this point. So just take your time. Okay. So now we can go ahead and do our second one. Let me get my little pin in here, maybe, sort of. Oh my Lord, if I could actually get a hold of it. Okay, so this one is scored, ready to go. So I'm going to start over here. And again, I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to that score mark, move it over, line up where I cut with the 1 inch. Again, across. And again. And the other thing with this, when I designed this, I designed it specifically with Doodlebug paper. And because of that, you know, there's like elements in most Doodlebug papers that, you know, are kind of there with every collection. And one of those is the border strips. And that's why these are sized the way they are, is because you can use those little border strips to mat these. But we are not going to be using Doodlebug paper to mat this, because I love the My Happy Place. I didn't love it, which I don't know, by the time I actually mat this, I may be completely full of crap right now, and I may have ended up matting this with the Doodlebug. But I'm going to try matting it, I think, with something else, just to see how it comes out. Okay, so again, we're going to go all the way to the bottom and the outside and glue that down. Burnish, and then again you'll come in and glue down your little tuck spots. Yeah, so when I did mine, because I had some of the travel collection and it had these little 3x4 cut aparts that are little postcards on the back. They're adorable. That was why I designed this like I did, because I wanted those specifically to be able to tuck in there and take them out, and you could journal on them. You could attach a picture to the back of them if you wanted to, just, you know, because it went with what I was trying to do here. The Disney inspired paper that Doodlebug came out with last summer, also had those, so that's what I did when I did the all of them for my friends in Orlando. And you know, it worked perfectly with those. because that collection also had those little postcard pieces. My Happy Place doesn't, and I'm just not sure. I don't know. I may end up using it. We'll see. Of course, if you're still watching at this point and making along with me, you'll know whether or not I did, huh? Okay. All right. So, there's that much. The next little element is going to be our pages. So, grab the scoreboard, and let's see here. Let's go there. Okay, so we have a page base that is 8 by 7 3/4, with 7 3/4 at the top of the scoreboard. We are going to score this at, and I thought I had it written down, and I don't. All right, so 7 3/4 at the top of the scoreboard. You're going to score at 3 3/4 and 4 1/4. Okay, and that's your page. So I did corner around these, and that's probably what I will end up doing, but I'm not going to do it right this second. You're also going to have 4 pockets. Okay, so you have 4 pieces that are 6 by 4 3/4, and I did actually cut these about a 1/16 of an inch under, so they're actually 4 11/16, or yeah, 4 11/16 by 6. We're going to score it 1/2 inch, starting with the 4 11/16 or 3/4 at the top. Turn it 1/2 inch and turn. We're going to do this on all 4 pieces. And then, like all pockets, you're going to cut through the corner where the score lines intersect. And you're going to miter at the top. You're going to do this on all 4 pieces. Excuse me. Okay. I swear I cannot score a straight line lately. I don't know why. Okay. Alright. Move that to the side. So we are going to go ahead and attach these. So I am going to fold and burnish. On all 4 of these. Then we're going to go ahead and glue these down. Do make sure that they fit, that they don't overhang. Okay, which is why I cut them that 1/16 of an inch under, is because that way I know they'll fit. And you're going to go all the way. Oh, and I didn't round my corners yet, did I? Dang it. That's what I meant to do. That's okay. I think we're going to use that one. No, I want the bigger one. Okay. And I know these are back in the store at Country Craft Creations, these corner punches. They are no longer green or turquoise and white. They are now just white, which is pretty. And I was sorely tempted to order a new one, even though that is dumb and I don't need to do that. But that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and punch the corners on the pockets as well for consistency. Let's finish gluing this one down. I'm telling you, the metal tips on this glue hate me. Brand new clean tip still doesn't want to flow worth a darn for me. Let's see, like this one somehow is too big, or else my scoring is wrong. Nope, my scoring is wrong. What did I do? Did I turn it wrong? Okay, I turned this wrong. So I am going to recut this. Okay, so you need to start with the 8 inches on the top. I knew that felt weird as I did it, but man. Okay, so let's do that part again. 8, add 7 3/4, and the 8 inch goes at the top of the scoreboard, and then you score it at 3 3/4 and 4 1/4, and then you corner around. This was going pretty smoothly. I hadn't had to totally redo anything yet. Knew it wouldn't last. Okay, there we go. We will reuse this one. It'll be just fine. About 2 seconds from throwing this thing across the room. Again, there's a reason I don't ever use that tip. Because it does not matter how much I clean it, it doesn't matter if I keep the pin in it, it does not like me. Okay, so this will be correct. And of course now I've got too much glue. Okay. All right, so this is where we were before I realized it was wrong. Just beautifully. Flip it over and do the other side. Okay, so that piece is done. So for our next couple of pieces, that was the piece I had to fix. Okay, so we're gonna do 2 pockets. This is 8 1/4 by 2. Starting with the 8 1/4 at the top. We're gonna score 1/2 inch, turn 1/2 inch, turn and 1/2 inch again. And somehow, I think I've still got this wrong, but we'll see. No, 7 1/4. So that is correct. Okay. So 1/2 inch, turn it. 1/2 inch again, turn, 1/2 inch. As up for a pocket, we're going to go ahead and miter through the score lines at the bottom, and miter at the top. This piece is 7 1/4 by 7 3/4. Okay, 7 3/4 at the top, and we want to score this at, just make sure. Okay, that's what I got. Okay, I'm going to score this at 3 5/8. And 3 7/8. Okay, let me just make sure. It's 3 5/8, and I'm still off. Why am I still off? What have I done? You know, you think I made 15 of them. You think I remember? I don't. Okay, so to score at 3 3/4. That's what it is. Okay, 3 3/4 and 4. Does that sound right? Yes, that sounds right. Okay. I'm so sorry. It's been a day. Okay. So these we're going to go ahead and fold and burnish. And these go on the inside of this little page thing. So I'm going to get my score lines facing up. I'm going to round my corners. I'm going to round my corners on my pockets. And I think, oh yeah, so on mine I had actually rounded the corners on the pockets at the top as well, but that didn't happen on this one, which is fine. We're just going to go ahead and do it just on the outside edges, and that's just fine. Ultimately, it's not going to matter. But if you wanted to round your corners all the way around, you absolutely could, and it would look nice. So, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get glue on my tabs. And this is going to go, except I didn't do my edges on that one, or my corners on that one yet. Because, again, this is just apparently how the night is going to go. And I should not have stopped crafting to make dinner. So, how many of you can relate to that? You're on a roll, you're in the zone, and then you have to go do things with family that apparently cannot make a sandwich for themselves. No, really, they're not that bad, but I should have just stayed downstairs. Would have been easier. Okay. Okay, so off of those tabs so that I don't get my little corner rounder all gummed up. Although then I could get the new one. But that's silly and whatever. Anyway, okay, so I'm gonna work this in there, get that rounded. Same thing here. And now we'll glue it down. Okay. So, now, you're going to go ahead and fold and burnish. And fold and burnish, maybe. Of course it did. Okay. So, 1/4 inch gusset, 1/2 inch gusset. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to leave this one flat. I'm going to get glue this little piece here, and it's shorter, so you're going to center it top to bottom and side to side. Once that's down, you're going to fold and finish your other score line. Okay, and then your 1/2 inch is going to go in here. And again, it is shorter than your spine. You're going to have about 1/4 inch, no, maybe more than that. About 3/8 inch top and bottom. And then you're just going to have to get it close to centered as you can. And there it is. And there is your book. So, closure, my original one, I had just done ribbon. The ones that I did for Orlando, I actually ended up doing a magnetic closure, a piece that wrapped around the magnet, because I forgot to put the ribbon on it before I matted the front and back, because I wasn't paying attention and it was late and I've been working on them for hours. So that's up to you as far as how you want to do your closure, but that's it. That is all there is to this little project. And had I not completely screwed up like 2 different pieces there, this would have taken us about 1/2 an hour total. So not too bad. As always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and ring the bell if you would like to be notified when I post new projects. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!